Oh, good. Sister's getting the doors for me. Good. And Claire. Good. That helps. Okay. During the distribution of communion, Eucharistic ministers are required to wear a mask. So we put our masks on for that. It doesn't matter to me when you put it on. That's up to you. I always do it the last second, but and then sanitize after that. But if you want to do it a little bit earlier and then just lift your mask to put communion in your own mouth, that's up to you. It doesn't matter exactly when it happens, but you have to put a mask on. It says, at the Lamb of God, approach the sanctuary on the tabernacle side. That's different than the way we used to do it. We used to have the host ministers over there and the cup over here. We decided to switch that because the tabernacle's over there. It will make more sense. And then as soon as Father consumes the host, so you're going to, when you come over there, you notice there's hand sanitizer right by the railing. If you would sanitize your hands, it doesn't matter exactly where you stand. You could stand down on the floor of the church if you want, but just also you do the same. But sanitize your hands. And then it says, as soon as Father consumes the host, step up into the sanctuary and form a line at the foot of the cross, going from south to north. And it's important that positions H1 and H6, see the diagram, stand in the first two positions on the tabernacle side. That's only because I'm putting fewer hosts for the person who's going to the back and the person who's doing this section, because there's fewer people there. So I put many fewer hosts in those containers, and I kind of mark them up there by putting the lids on those two, so I keep it all straight while I'm doing it. Half of it's keeping me in line is the trick. But you know, if you would stand, what it's saying is, in a line across here, just line up along here, but make sure H1 and H1 often is the deacon. So it's really H6. The person going to the back should be the first person here. Everybody else, it doesn't matter what order you're in. It's every other container is getting the same number of, or roughly the same number of hosts, but those first two are getting a smaller number. Okay? And it says, Father will distribute communion to ministers. After you consume the host, be sure your mask is in place, and then sanitize your hands. So it has to be mask first, then sanitize, because your mask could be dirty. And so you want to sanitize after you've put the mask on. Eucharistic Minister, let's see, where am I? If you're distributing communion to the people in the chairs in the back of the church, please use the aisle that is the return to seats aisle for the choir section. Means this aisle. I think some people have different notions on what the shortest distance between 2 points are. I've been in this church for 19 years. There's no good way between here and the back. This aisle is probably the best, but with traffic coming up this aisle, you don't want this. Rather than going that way, it takes you a week and a half to get to the back of the church when you go that way. It's better if you take this aisle to just get to the back. And there's no traffic. Traffic's going in your direction on that aisle. It's the opposite as it was before. Okay, and then it says, Eucharistic Minister in position, H5, at the 4 p.m. and 9 Mass, should distribute communion to the musicians. We're not doing it at 11, because they've already received communion at the 9. They don't really need the duplication. The priest and the deacon have to receive communion twice, but they don't have to, so we're not doing that. And there's a pyx right on that sanitizing stand that's actually for me. You know, some of the people, I got to stand in front of it, I guess, because today when I stood near it, some people were sanitizing their hand right there. And they've got 2 other spots to do that, so it works better if they do it sooner. And then if you would take communion, put 1 host or 2 hosts in the pyx for the musicians. That way the container can come back to the altar, even if you have to take the container to the altar before, because we want to get that all settled before they're done. We don't want to wait around for that. And then if you're H6, the minister in the back finishes early, please assist minister H3, which is this one, right? The person here, it just helped them. You saw it today. I ended up doing that because I saw they still had a little bit of a line. It varies. Sometimes there's a line, sometimes there's not. But if you're the one in the back, come up here. And then if I see that there's somebody that needs help, I'll come and help too when I'm done. But it's whoever's done, help. Even if you're H1, if you're done, help. Bob, on the other hand, is going to go up to the altar and clean up the altar for me, because he knows how to do that and everything like that. So, but if there's no deacon that day and you end up being H1, don't come and try to clean up the altar. Just help somebody and to just expedite communion. And then I'll be the one that goes up to the altar. And since I do that all the time anyhow, I'll clean up. And then once we get back to servers, that'll happen naturally. They'll be doing it while we're distributing communion, but until we have servers, we have to do it this way. If H1 finishes, I guess I said that. And after finishing distribution of communion, return to the altar with your ciborium. If there's no priest or deacon present, 1 person should remain at the altar and wait for the priest or deacon. It's sort of like the Blessed Sacrament shouldn't be alone. You should stand there by the Blessed. Somebody should. You don't have to all stand there, but 1 person should stand there, sort of like an honor guard type thing. But usually one of us is back anyhow. Any questions? I got through this in half the time that I did yesterday. Yeah, that's a good question, Kathy. I'm glad you brought it up. And today, Greg and I were kind of next to each other, and that caused a little bit of a problem. First of all, it's helpful if you're all the way against the pew so people can walk between us. I'm suggesting that, there are 3 legs on this thing, so it's really quarters of the section. By this first leg is not a bad place. And then I started out here, but Greg and I were almost next to each other, and people were kind of getting confused coming between us. So what I did is I moved up here. Probably what I need to do is stand in the way of that so they can't see that, and be up a little forward of the other person. But I think if you're right by this first support, it's where the first kneeler ends. It's roughly a quarter of it. You don't have to measure or look for the support too much, but just guess about a quarter of it and stand against the pew. The other thing that's helpful for these 2 people, you have to stand kind of with your heels right up against the step. Because if somebody tries to help you and you're out here, they won't get between, they won't go that way. They'll just keep focused on you and nobody can help you then. It's not a problem usually at this Mass, it's at the 11 o'clock Mass. I know the culprit, And sometimes what you do, this is easy to do, somebody will stand too far back and you'll step out to reach them. You can't really do that. You just have to kind of force them to come to you. They will, but if you start stepping out, you'll end up out here, and then nobody can help you at the end. It was more of a problem when we did those big sections over there. It's like if the person on, when they were coming up this way, if this person got out here, it just cut off the flow to that other person. Now this is working much better. We're over here. They see that other person. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's wonderful. And they're going, they split about half and half. Used to be that they kind of shied away from the Eucharistic minister, pretended like they wanted to go to the priest. But I think it's they just don't see. Because when I came up here and helped today, they were all still focused right straight ahead, like tunnel vision, But, so, I mean, it helps if you're standing up close to the step, I guess. And this will probably change in 3 more weeks. This has been the thing with the pandemic. There's been, every few weeks, something changes. And it's like, I'm too old to be learning this stuff. I knew how to do this when I was young, but now it seems like every time we turn around, something's changing. So we have to do the best we can. Kathy? A corporal, yes. There is a white cloth up there. Notice this white cloth is folded in a certain way. It's folded in 3s and then again in 3s. So there's like 9 squares on it. It's hard for me to lift it because the purpose of it is to capture any particle that falls. So they get folded within the container. They're taken after Mass to the sacrarium, and the particles are put in the sacrarium. So sacrarium is just a place where you put religious things that have been blessed or consecrated, and they need to stay in there. So when you bring there's 2 of them on the altar, put your container on one of those, because that's where we're going to combine the hosts. We're not going to just do it over the altar cloth. We'll do it over a corporal. So, no biggie, we'll get it. No matter where you put them, we'll move it to where we want it. But it's better if you put it on the corporal. Questions? Doesn't too much matter. If I was wondering today, everybody was to the tabernacle side there. There is a hand sanitizer on this corner, and if you want to use that, that's fine. But just make it so that I can get to that, because I do have to sanitize my hands. Up there. It doesn't matter. It's just the key thing with the line is that you're not 40 miles from the altar, because I have to go back and forth. So if you're kind of, those containers are all on this side of the altar anyhow, so it really doesn't matter. If you start by the table, is fine. So the key thing would be the person in the back being the first person at the end, the far end. Okay. Anybody's mass coordinators wants to come back to doing that job? That's the next thing on the agenda. Well, servers are next. I think we have a practice scheduled for them for next Sunday, and we'll kind of go through the drill with them and try to get some of them back. Even if we don't have all 3 of them back at a Mass, if we have at least one, it's helpful. And we might not have them do certain things. We might not have them do the holding the book, because they're so close to the priest at that point. It's like, it's maybe too dangerous for them. We don't know if some of them may not be vaccinated yet. So we'll probably still have the deacon do that, because we know we're both vaccinated, so. Okay. And it is warm in here, isn't it? The new furnace is working. The new furnace and air conditioner is working. The control system for it needs some tweaking yet. So That'll happen, but hasn't happened yet. And then one of the toughest things for a church is when it's really not hot outside, the air conditioner's not calling for cooling, so it leaves the air humid like it is. So it's probably not hot in here, it's just humid in here. And there's no good way. If we try to get the humidity down, the only way is we force the temperature down, and then we have people crabbing at us that, it's too cold in here, it's too cold in here. And it is. But it's the only way we know how to dry the air out. So we left it a little warm today. So thank you all. Get out of here before I think, oh, wait a minute. Oh, sign-up sheets in the back. If you're willing to distribute communion for the months of July, August, September, if you would sign up that you don't mind being scheduled for that. And I think there's probably even, they can mark when they want to be here. So you can mark when you want to be here. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would help us. Thank you all. Margarita?